Greetings everybody, my name is Alex and this is a follow-up video to my guide and tutorial which I made back in November, the making of crimps. So if you haven't seen that video yet, I suggest you check it out. In this video we're gonna talk about aspect ratio and color correction, which I didn't talk about at all in that video, and it is quite important, especially for older consoles such as the Super Nintendo. The first example we're going to look at is Secret of Evermore, once again for the Super Nintendo. And we're using the capture card straight raw input right here into the program. So I'm going to use OBS to show you what we're going to do here. So the canvas size is the original aspect ratio of the Super Nintendo, which is 8:7. You can see the resolution right here. This is 8:7. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more, but first here we have the raw input, and as you can see it's interlaced, it's cropped, it doesn't look very good. So first off we're gonna de-interlace it by using retro in this program, and it works perfectly. Now we have 50 full frames per second, and then we're gonna go into filters, and then we're gonna use color correction. So as you can see here, the black part of the capture card is not entirely black as this one. So I'm using color correction to decrease the brightness just a little bit so it gets as dark as this part. So here you have the difference. This makes it more dark and it looks nicer in my opinion. You don't have to do this, but in my opinion it looks better. But then we have the cropping, as I showed before. Just crop out the black parts, and now we have nothing around it, so we can just full screen that. But now we have the aspect ratio of the capture card, which is not ideal. So we're gonna go into that right now. We have scaling and aspect ratio, and it's very important that you have this after the crop and pad. So we're gonna use right now 4:3, which is, the standard for these types of games, non-widescreen. It's 4:3, and this is how it looks. And most games on the Super Nintendo were made with this in mind, to stretch it to 4:3. For example, The Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, in the beginning, the title screen, you have the Triforce. And the Triforce has the right aspect ratio when you scale it to 4:3. So it was designed for that. But some games don't have it, and one of them is Yoshi's Island, and another one is this game right here. So now we're using 4:3, and it looks great, but as you can see, this is not the full resolution of the aspect ratio. And so if we go into a part, for example, this target icon right here, it's not perfectly round, it's more oval shaped. If you tilt your head, you can see that the target symbol is not round, it's actually oval. But if we go into filters again, scaling, and we change this to the canvas size, which is 8:7 instead of 4:3, we get the entire screen here, you see. And so now this target symbol is actually round. If you tilt your head, you can see that it is round. So this is what the game is originally outputting. It's 8:7 in aspect ratio. And some people might not like how this looks, because when you put it up on a TV, like a CRT TV, you don't get this aspect ratio. It gets stretched to 4:3. Hence why some games tend to, adapt to that. But as you can see on the icons, this is how it is originally. So it's all up to preference. Do you want to play it like this or not? Maybe. For example, in Yoshi's Island, when Baby Mario gets in the bubble is the same thing as the target icon here. The bubble is an oval shaped instead of round. But the game looks kind of better when you go by 4:3 like this. Now let's see, there we go. Now it's 4:3, it's stretched, it's not round anymore, but it looks better, it's more pleasing to the eyes, the whole artwork, everything. So it's, once again, all up to preference, and that's my short, follow-up guide on capturing Super Nintendo or retro consoles, getting the right color, if you want to. These are, as I said, preference. You can go with whatever you want. And then you have the cropping, which is kind of objectively better to get rid of the black bars. And then the scaling, if you go 4:3 or you go 8:7, it's all up to you. Just don't stay on the original aspect ratio that the capture card has, because as you can see, it's not good. It gets fat. It's not right. So either 4:3 or 8:7, it's all up to you. And there you have it. Okay, so we're gonna look at one more thing, and that's PlayStation 2. The game is Silent Hill 2, and in this emulator you can press F6 to change the aspect ratio. Right now we have it forced to 4:3, and if you press F6 we can change it to 16:9. The thing is that none of these are correct, and at least not for this game. If you press again you get stretched to window. So when we go 4:3 it is too small, 16:9 is too wide. So the question is, what is the aspect ratio of this particular game? And it's quite easy to see if you go into screen position and you get these squares. However, they are not squares at all at this point. So if you tilt your head, you can see it. They're not squares. And if we go 16:9, it looks better, but still they're not squares. So the aspect ratio of this game is actually 16:10, right there. I'm using, right here in configuration, window settings, I'm using a 16:10 aspect ratio for the window screen, and then I'm using stretch to window. So the first one is 4:3, 16:9, and then stretch to window. And since we have 1600 and 1000, we have 16:10. And now you can see they are squares. So that's quite interesting that this game runs in that aspect ratio. I haven't tried this with other games yet, but I think this can't be the only one. So now when we run around, you can see it looks more natural. James isn't too tall, he isn't too fat, or as you can see he's too tall here, too small and shit. Here he's too fat, it's stretched out, and now it looks more natural. And I think the squares are a good indicator of this is how it's supposed to be. So this game runs in 16:10, and that's how you do it in this emulator. You can do this, of course, in Adobe Premiere Pro or other editing software. You can stretch it there as well. But if you're recording using this program, I highly recommend, at least for this game, to use 16:10. So thank you very much for watching, and good luck out there.